spit in the tube, sent it off. My parents were in the room, by the way. That is a key fact. They were there. They had an opportunity to get ahead of it and said nothing.
Hello, you are listening to NPE Stories. This is a podcast where NPEs can share their story. I am your host, Lily, and I found out I was an NPE through an ancestry DNA test that changed my life forever. NPE is a term that stands for Not Parent Expected or Non-Paternal Event. This means that one or more of our parents are not who we believe them to be. NPE Stories is a podcast where NPEs can share their story of what their original family was like, how they found out they were an NPE, and what their journey has been like since the day they found out. And welcome to episode 142. I've already been having so much fun speaking with my guest, I figured I'd better start recording and bring him in. So, hi, Eric. Welcome to the show.
Hola. Thank you for having me, Lily.
I'm having such a nice time talking to you already, and I was like, we better start recording what we're talking about.
We've been vibing.
And do you have a podcast as well in the NPE realm?
Yes to the first part, no to the second. It has nothing to do with NPE or DCP stuff. No, I'm a big fan of as we call it in Portuguese, futebol, soccer in English. So it's a soccer podcast. We cover a lot of like local football and international, and yeah, it's all soccer and the kind of the social political side of it as well.
What's it called?
It's called the Minnesota Football Show.
Oh, that's
football is in Spanish. Futbol. Yep.
That's the Minnesota Football Show, and so that's why when we were scheduling for today, you were talking about like a soccer game, and I had no idea. I was like, I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah, it's a pretty big part of my life.
Sorry, is that happening right now?
It is not. No, we have a few hours.
Okay. We'll make sure you get to it on time. I promise.
Oh, all good. Okay. All good. I miss way more than I watch anymore. That's just part of adulting.
Are you? And you said, did you say Portuguese or wait, Brazilian?
Correct.
Are you Brazilian?
I am.
You are, and you are. I should say from the beginning, you identify as your donor. You found out you were a donor conceived person, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't have any of your background story, and I know you said you've had you had a pretty terrible year at one point, and then a lot of changes.
Yeah.
So did you want to go into your story today or any of the other, or do you want to start with kind of the donor conceived world that you're part of?
We can start briefly on the story. I mean, it's not terribly different than I think some of the ones you've probably heard and some of the guests you've already had on your program. I mean, it was very much a late discovery via a commercial DNA test, 2017. I was more curious about the Brazilian side, just because it's a very eclectic, multi-ethnic, mestizo, like we say, mestizo in Spanish, mix of European, indigenous, and African, but nobody really knew anything beyond that. So I was always interested in just getting a little more specificity on that side. Not even thinking about or looking at my dad's side, it was all about my maternal, my mom's side. And so I got the gift for Christmas that year, spit in the tube, sent it off. My parents were in the room, by the way. That is a key fact.
Wow.
They were there. They had an opportunity to, get ahead of it and said nothing. Yeah, got the results, whatever. It takes 3 months or so. And I didn't initially see a drastic difference. I mean, my dad, Ray's dad, is obviously a European descendant, settler European descendant here from the U.S. So the European stuff was popping. The only thing that I thought was a little interesting is in that narrative, he was or is of Swiss, German, and French, and neither of those two were hitting. But through the immigration process that I remember from that whole narrative is they eventually came to the Netherlands, Holland, and they actually were their opportunity to leave the European continent and come to the U.S. was via Penn, as in like Pennsylvania, that guy, Mr. Penn. Um, and that all happened in Holland, in the Netherlands. So that's the one that was hitting, and I was like, well, that sort of fits tangentially because I know that's where they, eventually left from. So I kind of left it at that. But that's, this is where it starts to become again something familiar to you and your listeners. The direct messages, the private messages started coming in from people I'd never seen before, heard of. I was very skeptical, like, what the hell do you want? I'm, I'm a musician. I don't have a lot to give. You're not asking for money. But of course, yeah, you know where this goes. And my sister then was very gentle in the first few messages, in terms of easing me in. If you follow the Matrix at all, that's one of my favorite metaphors to use for everything. But getting the red pill and all that stuff, and she was my Morpheus, I like to say, in that respect. And it was really hard, obviously, and traumatic and destabilizing, and like all the stuff you've heard before. I actually, Lily, I bottled it up for a solid 3 years before I really dealt with it. I mean, I didn't have the vocabulary. I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't know how to approach my parents and the family. And, yeah, you and I are both parents. We have all these other numerous priorities, and it just didn't seem like something that I could like get to and focus on. And, literally the years passed. But it was, again, I'm going to do constant Matrix references throughout this entire episode. It feels like, because again, like it's the Morpheus thing. Like he, one of my favorite lines is the splinter in the mind, right? He talks about it's just that splinter in the mind, and that's what it was. Like there was always something there that was an itch he couldn't scratch that was there. And so, here in the Twin Cities, we had a pretty dramatic rebellion and uprising, and I was somewhat active in that. I can neither confirm nor deny. And through that and a lot of other things, and pandemic isolation and stresses, there was just a lot of weight that really started to bear down. And it was through mostly those reasons that I got to therapy and found a cool therapist, and we're mostly working on those issues. And I actually just mentioned the DNA test, kind of as an aside.
Oh.
And yeah, exactly. And being the astute counselor that she is, she kind of just picked up on it. I was like, hit the brakes, hold on, let's circle back to that.
Yep.
And then that became like the next solid year of work, like mostly focusing in on that and building tools to deal with the genetic bewilderment and the trauma and the vocabulary to talk to my parents and kind of work through all the different things. And basically start the healing process, as it were. And then almost by chance, around the same time, this will probably be another point we're going to want to discuss, is finding really, really cool people and building great solidarity with others, with other donor conceived people in general, NPEs as well, like yourself, and this entire podcast community that you have provided us. I mean, you're doing amazing work as well. And so that all kind of hit at the same time, like honestly, right when I psychologically needed it the most, to be totally honest. And then, the real piece of luck within all of that was a number of us that identify as people of color or BIPOC, kind of starting to find one another within this larger group, and kind of realizing that the space wasn't that it, I mean, partially maybe it wasn't as comfortable, but we just have other issues as non-white folk. Yeah. And so we kind of started to just have a little chat, and then it became something bigger. And then obviously we kind of started this entire group through donor conceived communities. And the BIPOC DCC group there has been, a life changer. It's been a primary source of my healing, and they're wonderful friends and comrades, and I look forward to seeing them every week. And I guess that's the big plug, I suppose, right there. If anybody's listening and you identify as a person of color and you're a donor conceived person, I mean, we love to have you join. I can only say that it's been nothing but incredible and wonderful.
Where could somebody that identifies that way find this group? Is that a Facebook group?
I don't know if they're on. I think they're on Facebook, but everything mostly runs through Instagram these days. And it's
Instagram.
yeah, DCC support at DCC support on IG. They do have just like a regular old school website, donorconceived.communities.com. I think I want to make sure I don't screw it up if it's .com or .org.
Did you say DC support or DCC?
DCC.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Instagram. All right.
Yep. Donorconceivedcommunity.org. O-R-G.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah. So we've got our two DCCs. I joke around because it's DCC squared, and I'm involved in both of them. The one that I just mentioned is very much about community support and working with just finding community. And because I mean, I don't have to tell you, or probably anybody that listens to this show, this point is, the isolation is one of the hardest things, and it certainly was for me. So finding others where you don't have to explain yourself, and you can kind of meet at present where you're at, and just kind of start to work and heal together, like that is it's incredible. it's the best. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they're all about. And then there's lots of different groups. The BIPOC group just happened to be the one where I most comfortably fit in, but there are many others. All right. So the other one too, the other DCC is the Donor Conceived Council, and they're more involved on the policy side of making legislative changes and different direct political actions. So, for example, the big bill that was just passed in Colorado, which I'm sure you're aware of, in May, that was through them. They were directly involved, working with all the legislators and all the different politicians and stakeholders and whatnot to get that bill passed.
And what was that big bill that was passed in May in Colorado?
Right. I wish I could remember the actual number, but maybe that's super
okay.
important. It's such low bar shit that it's almost revolutionary at this point, which is kind of sad. But it's like, number one is getting basic medical information at age 18, which again, that's late still. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us still would prefer that it be immediately. And so it's out there, but even 18 was kind of a compromise. But so that's number one. Limitations on the number of donations, in big air quotes I'm doing right now, donations.
Yeah.
So we don't have these ridiculous and just out of control sibling groups of 50, 100, 150, whatever it is. I'm sure most people at this point have seen Our Father and the just the trauma that particular group has gone through. And they're just one of many, Lily, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's bananas. It's bananas. So having a concrete number, and that one too was a negotiation from what I understand. And, we're trying to get it down to something more reasonable, like a single digit, similar to what a lot of, again, in big air quotes, typical family might be. But the compromise, I think, was 10, which, again, you hear that, you're like, how many people with 10 children do you really know at this point? It still seems like a big number. But you got to start somewhere. One of the other big parts is mandatory counseling for both donors and recipient parents. Yes, exactly. Which certainly wasn't there at all for my parents and that generation decades ago. It's one of the reasons I'm actually going back to school now for a master's in counseling, to kind of get involved in that side, and then also provide support for DCP at present, in whatever stage of development they're in and going through, whether it's like late discovery or they've known but still have questions. So just working through wherever they're at. But for this particular bill and in this particular instance, like, getting all that information up front knowing what you're getting yourself into, knowing there may be potential other half siblings out there, ramifications, and the fact that donor anonymity is, essentially shattered and gone at this point with commercial DNA testing. Like having all that laid out, you know what I'm saying, before a decision is made.
Yeah.
Kind of important.
Yeah.
Again, it's all such like low bar stuff.
I know.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head what else I'm forgetting.
Is your donor father still alive?
He
He's
is,
still alive?
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. We have no contact. He's
Mhm.
it's just the way it is. Yeah, it's a little tough, but I think to what's the idiom? I'm really bad at idioms because my mom was like learning English while she was like trying to get all this stuff. So I learned like all these wrong ways of saying things
Sure.
from a non-native English speaker. Lemons out of lemonade. That's our lemonade out of lemons, right? That's
Okay.
how it goes. Yeah.
So you have no idea how many times he donated.
So the answer to that is yes, we do, and I'll tell you why. It's a two-part question. The number one, or two-part answer rather. One is we were able to get our medical information just by chance because we have a rebel chia, a rebel auntie, who basically said this is fucked up. Yeah, and if you're not going to recognize them, I am. So she basically took it upon herself to,
I love her.
Yeah, right, to write out everything, get it to one of our siblings to then like spread it to the rest of us, so we at least have something of an idea of what we're dealing with, and a little bit of family medical history and whatnot. But honestly, if she didn't take it upon herself, we'd be with millions of others not knowing anything. And then so to the second part of that question, the number, that goes directly to one of my other sisters, closest in distance and probably closest in terms of our relationship too. We built a really solid, great relationship. I mean, she's the best. She really is. And her mom was, I think, from what I can gather, the only one that kind of again did the baseline thing of actually questioning what was happening to her during the procedure and trying to get as much information as possible. And so through doing that, she learned the number of successful conceptions, I think, via his donated sperm, and I think the number was at like 20 something. And our group right now that we're aware of, including his raised kids and a few others that have kind of fallen out of the group for their own reasons, which is fine. It is what it is. There's 11 of us plus my raised sister, so my grand total is like 12, including me. But there again, you do the math. There's still at least 10 others that are out there that either know or don't know. So that's kind of where we're at.
And your raised sister, that is your half sister, right? You guys share a birth mom.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was a big revelation too. That apparently, like, my my dad's stuff started functioning for her apparently when it did it for me. So, which is, I've heard that it happens, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you were never told. You came from a sperm donation.
Mm-hmm.
That was a total secret.
Correct.
Now, I don't know if you happen to know this about your newer half siblings. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Your siblings, the ones that you found.
Yeah, I just call them all siblings because at this point, all I've got are half siblings. They're all my siblings.
I know. Yeah, they all are. Yes, exactly. It's rare for us to have a full sibling now. And okay, so were they also raised in secrecy, or did any of them have parents that told them they were conceived?
It's all over the place, Lily. It's a broad spectrum. So myself and one of the other sisters that's older than me were late discoveries. We have a couple that were, I guess, between like 18 and 20 something, so I don't know what you consider that late-ish, but still before, adulthood or deep adulthood. And then we have like the one that I was mentioning, the one that's probably closest to me. She actually knew, she was told very early. She was told when I think she was a toddler, 3 or 4, which is obviously the best way to do it because her mom is down and cool as hell. The same mom that asked all those questions that, now we have an idea of kind of a sum, a total of who may be out there. So yeah, they were putting in the work for sure.
Yeah. Yes. So I understand, just from reading and watching all the documentaries about the donor conceived world, I understand a lot of the secrecy came from usually some form of shame, or
Hmm.
whether it was infertility struggles, people being embarrassed about sperm donation, or they think whatever the reason, our parents come up with the reason to hide something like that.
Yep.
Can I ask what year were you born, or are you
Yeah,
what
it was.
generation are you from? Is that okay
I
to ask that?
am. It is fine. I'm
Are you like a
Gen.
millennial, Gen
I'm not a. I
X?
mean, I'm a technically Gen X, but I think I vibe and roll much more with millennials,
you you identify as a millennial.
something
Got it.
like that. But I'm
Okay. Yeah.
technically not.
Okay. Yes, and I think I hope now there's more awareness with well, actually there definitely isn't at sperm banks, with telling parents to, I don't know, is that something they do? Counsel parents. You were talking about this bill in Colorado, like counsel parents on saying this is part of a child's framework, saying this is part of their story at a young
Yeah,
age.
I think it's an evolution.
Yeah.
There's movement that's finally starting to happen. I mean, you think about how long commercial DNA tests have been around. We're talking probably close to 2 decades at this point. So it's still way late, right?
Yeah.
But at least the wheel is starting to move now. So we'll kind of see how this thing progresses and how it evolves is kind of where we're at.
So what sort of work are you doing right now in the donor conceived world? Because I know you're involved there. You're doing some things.
Yeah, well, that kind of goes back to that whole solidarity aspect of it, and just not allowing oneself to feel isolated and alone, because that is darkness, and I had been there, and I never wanted to go back there, and I was able to kind of find my tribe and find my community, and I have a background in a lot of anti-racist activism and work here in the Twin Cities and things, so kind of applying a lot of the on the ground activist stuff that I'd been doing for a very long time, just sharpening it and kind of focusing now on this new issue that all of a sudden has kind of consumed my life.
Mhm.
Uh, it led me to both of these DCCs that I kind of mentioned to you, both the one for the support group and then the one actually doing policy and advocacy work. And I mean, what I can say is there's lots happening. Everybody's really busy. The bill was the most gigantic victory I think that anybody could have anticipated. I think a lot of us honestly didn't even think it was going to pass for a while there, but incredibly, it got bipartisan support, which again is kind of a big thing, especially with the political climate of the last decade or so. Um, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
there's a lot happening, and it's honestly not too hard to get plugged in. Like if people who listen to this and they're getting interested or they're getting activated and they want to do something, I mean, reach out to Donor Conceived Council. Uh, there's a core group of really awesome people that are kind of keeping everything moving, but it's very much a nonprofit in the sense that there's not a lot of money for a lot of the
Yeah.
people, and it's very much volunteer driven and volunteer based. So, if
Yeah.
you have a couple hours a week and you want to contribute doing whatever, they'll more than likely be in touch because we just need
Hmm.
people.
And I think one of the best things to happen was Our Father coming out on Netflix, because
Absolutely.
I was been talking on my podcast, and like my normie friends, they're like, okay, yeah, I guess this sort of thing could be slightly traumatic. But then Our Father came out. A lot of people watched it, and they're like, oh my God, this
Yep.
is terrible. Like I can start to see it, and
Yeah.
these sibling groups, and they're left in the aftermath. So I
Yep.
just more awareness over what is going on and what has been going on.
Totally. It's a great entry point. It's a great entry point. Like when people kind of give you the blank stare when you start to talk about it, and just go watch the doc.
Yeah.
come back in a day or two and we'll pick it up from there. And they come like, oh,
Yeah.
what the hell? I'm like, yeah, okay, now we can talk.
Yes. Are you doing a run walk? Was that you or doing some sort of
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that happened 2 weeks ago. We did this was organized by, again, both the DCCs, DCC squared. Made to Wonder was what they ended up calling it.
Oh, okay.
Wonder as in, wondering about how many siblings are out there, wondering about genetic identity, and all the things that donor conceived people and even MPs have to kind of deal with psychologically. And yeah, so it was just kind of, like any kind of, I guess the big one is like the breast cancer awareness, where they wear the pink and they go on their walks and things like that. I mean, something inspired by that. But you
Yeah.
can either run or walk. I am a runner. I have some friends that are runners, so it was pretty easy to put something together here locally. I honestly just thought it was going to be my friend and I, and then we rolled up to this park and parked the car and got out, and somebody parked next door, or next to the car, and got out with the shirts. We were like, all right, here we go. So now
Oh.
we got some comrades here. So got to meet some other cool people that are involved. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I was just talking with Cara and Alicia from Right to Know, and I swear they were talking about that as well. Is this something that happened outside of the Twin Cities as well,
It
or
was
was
it
it
was
local?
national, Lily. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
national. Okay.
So it was tied to an event that was actually happening in California. Like that was like the big one, and then we splintered off and kind of did all these other kind of side runs, if you will. So
Yeah.
obviously here there was one in DC, Atlanta, New York. I'm probably messing some other
Love
ones up.
it.
Yeah,
I'm not a runner, but I really should have supported that.
it's all right. There'll
I'm
probably be another one. We'll
oh,
kind of see how it moves.
oh
Yeah.
boy. What am I signing myself up for? Can you be a walker?
You can be a walker. Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. You
there we
can.
go.
You
That'll
can.
be me.
Yep.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing all this. Where can we go from here? Can we talk more about your personal story, or are you a little burnt out on that?
You can
Yeah.
ask me. You can ask me whatever
Okay.
you want. I mean, I laid out a little bit of
Yeah.
an outline. So if you have questions,
Yeah.
by the way, if you want to go back to that bill, this is actually you had Peter on your program,
Oh,
Peter
yes.
Bonney, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So like a lot of the stuff that he lines out in his book is kind of what the bill was kind of geared towards. Now, I mentioned most of them. The big goal of abolishing donor anonymity is still out there, right? That was a shot a little bit too far,
Yeah.
and it may still be. But the thing about it is, like we already discussed, in the current state of affairs right now with the commercial DNA test, it essentially is abolished. It's just not formally abolished, and I think finally the clinics and the cryobanks and everybody else are coming to terms with that. So even if it's not formally written out in any kind of legislation, we all know that if you're going to do this, you're going to be found. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Um, I hit the medical history. Oh, genetic testing. Yep. Offspring limits. Yes. Oh, I forgot this one. I mentioned counseling. Um, a formalized donor sibling registry, again, so that a lot of the commercial DNA sites and things like that aren't doing all the work, because that's kind of how we built our community off of 23andMe and Ancestry and stuff. And I know there is the donor sibling registry, or one of them, but having something a little more centralized, like actually coming from those sources, I think would streamline things and just make it easier so everybody knows everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a better way
Yeah.
to do it that frankly should have been thought about, again, decades ago. So again, we're playing catch up. Um, and
And this
again,
would be like
go
a
ahead.
donor, like a kind of like a donor registry, but different than the one that exists.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that
I like I people smarter than me will be able to figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But there's just a better way to do it, I think. Um,
A
and the
free
other one
one
too,
would be
a free
nice,
one, no
right?
doubt, no doubt, 100%. Obviously, directly tied to the documentary, to Our Father too, is uh, legal consequences for fertility fraud and all that stuff as well. So a lot of that, there are separate fertility fraud bills that have been moving. There was one actually in Iowa that was passed this year. So I've been hounding some of our local Minnesota politicians, because you know how it is, like Minnesota, Iowa, there's a rivalry there. I'm just like, listen, Iowa's kicking y'all's asses right now in this respect. So you, I know you don't like to lose to Iowa, so right now you're losing. And then there's also a federal one that's kind of starting to move. That started with, I can't remember the young man's case. I'm sure you heard of the one in New York where he committed suicide, and the family investigated it and found out that the donor had a history of schizophrenia and
Oh,
mental health, and
yes.
also committed suicide. And so that became a whole local thing in New York. And then they
Yeah.
actually moved it to Washington. So that's moving federally.
The picking of the donor, that is not even the donors. I mean, I just go back to thinking of my time at the University of Minnesota campus and how people would be like on the corners,
Oh yeah, it's so
kind of like
shady.
hawking
So shady.
that these college age students, I mean, if you can even call them adults legally
Yep.
because they're 18, I guess, but that they can make, what is it, 50, 70, I can't remember, $75 back then
Right.
to donate sperm. And it
You know
was
what?
like, yeah,
Oh, sorry to interrupt. That
yeah,
reminds me of another point in that bill is upping the age, like making sure that,
yes,
you know what I'm
the
saying? Just like you
age.
were saying, like I think we're talking about 2022 maybe.
Hmm.
So like you normally like a college graduate age rather than like a freshman.
Yes. And I
Yeah,
mean, they don't let an 18-year-old, or I don't think they used to rent a rental car
correct.
because, the prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. 18-year-olds,
Yep,
19-year-olds, even though, yes, legally they are adults, I mean, they're just not thinking clearly when they donate sperm at a local sperm bank for cash,
you got it.
for beer money.
That's it. That's it.
And yeah, upping the age, that would make more sense.
Yep, yep, yep.
I mean, there's so many
Again,
things.
I know it's such low bar shit. It's like,
It's
how
low
is this
bar.
not a thing? And you compare it to other countries as well too. Like, I mean, Australia and Europe and the UK, they have a lot of this stuff already
Yeah.
codified. Even my mom's home country of Brazil, like I have a cousin that's an endocrinologist, and so this isn't like her thing, but it kind of has been tangentially by me now, and she knows people that are involved in the fertility industry down there, or that she's consulted with a couple times, but again, not her focus. But she even told me, like, on one hand, the secrecy and the anonymity is still very much a huge part of the way they do things down there. However, they have a mandatory 18-year-old get your health history thing, which again we don't have, and they also have a limitation on the number of donations a person can get. And then
Mm.
finally, it is a literal donation. You do not get paid as a donor.
Right? Yeah, it's not for sale.
Correct.
It's okay. So even Brazil has
Yep.
more regulations than we have
Tá louco, né?
here.
Incrível.
Oh,
Yep.
is that Portuguese?
I just said it's incredible. It's crazy.
Oh,
It's incredible.
I'm I'm really, by the way, I've dove into Brazilian culture as of the last 3 years because I'm studying Brazilian Zouk. But side note, I'll have to pick your brain
Sure.
about some of that stuff off the record afterwards. I'm but I'm in a dance community that is full of Brazilians, and so I'm always very much
All
like,
right on.
yeah, we all of our dance moves are in Portuguese, and we're always trying to compare, well, how is this word different than Spanish? And
Mhm.
it's
You're working on the
fascinating.
samba and the lambada and the
Lambada, yes, I do lambada, or I'm trying lambada in
yep.
Zouk. Okay.
Got the full hall. Anyway, well, that's a whole nother
I
conversation.
know. And you're an artist too. You're a musician of like dozens and dozens of instruments, right? I mean,
I
from
am.
cello
Yeah.
to guitar to drums to bass. I don't
Yeah,
do you
it slowed a little bit with the pandemic. Obviously, like I haven't performed nearly as much as I once did, and I mean, you know how it is with family and children and things. It's just I'm not going to play
mm,
a Tuesday night midnight gig at a dive bar. Like that's just not a part of
not
things
with
anymore.
kids.
Nope,
Yeah.
not at all.
Would you ever
Um,
be interested in doing any of your performing at the NPE Adoptee Donor Conceived Summit in Louisville? Have you heard about that in March? They're
Potentially,
looking.
I
Yeah.
have. I have. We
Yeah.
can talk about that off too. We
Okay.
might be traveling internationally, so I'm not sure we'll be around. Like that was one of the main things I think that I was noticing, which just
Yeah.
timing. I got questions for you too.
Oh yeah. Okay. Go ahead then. You have questions for me. I'm listening.
Well, have you told your story? Because I mean, there's hundreds of episodes, and
Yeah.
I admittedly haven't probably listened to all of them, but I was trying to dig a little bit, and I'm like, I know Lily's an MP. I know she's Minnesota fam, but I'm not sure I actually know exactly what's happened. I mean, are you comfortable with hitting a couple points of your story?
I do. I have sure. I've shared my story in the first season, and I wouldn't even give. I wouldn't even give my last name. I was.
Uh-huh.
I was still living in the shame. I was still living in the secrecy. The first season of this, I wanted to hear other people's,
I'm
and
doing the judo here and like flipping you and flipping the podcast.
okay, okay, okay. All right, shoot. All right. Yes, I did share. I was very nervous. I think my episode is somewhere in the maybe in the 20s. I yeah, I was like, everyone is so brave that comes on. And I finally shared. I also shared on Eve Sturgis's podcast called
Oh,
Everything's
right. Yeah,
Relative.
yeah. No, I heard that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I shared on a Rev Rep podcast, a YouTube thing. I've shared on the Secret in My DNA's podcast. So there's a couple of, if anyone ever wants to hear my story, you can either hear it through NP Stories or through one of those other ones I just mentioned. But yeah, I'm more of a listener.
Hmm.
I'm I feel better when I hear other people going through the same thing. I'm just like nodding along with them, like, yes, that's me. That's
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Word. Um, since I know that we have
Mm.
kids about the same age, I'm kind of
Hmm.
curious. Um, I mean, I guess
Oh,
question
yeah.
one is you disclosed to your children, I'm sure,
I
at this point,
did.
right? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
guess A, how
Me
did that
too.
go, and how have things changed?
You will have to, I want you to answer the same
You
question,
gotta
Eric.
fair, fair.
Okay. Okay. I'll go first. Yes. So when I found out on April 9th, 2000, no, April 7th, 2019,
Hmm.
terrible day. And so Easter was just like a couple weeks after that. And I was still talking with my mom and my stepdad at that time, through one of the worst weeks of my life. And immediately my parents tried to do the let's sweep this under the rug. We're going to
Hmm.
send out a group text. Easter at our house on Sunday. Everyone bring a side dish. They just wanted me to go along with what my pattern had been, which was,
Yeah.
act like nothing's wrong and just show up
Ugh,
with a side dish and we're going to pretend this never
hate
happened.
that so much. Just
Right.
the eggshells,
Yeah.
eggshells.
And
Yeah.
you know what? I was the golden child. I played that part my entire life, and I did that, and I fluffed pillows and poured coffee, and like don't cause a scene. But this time, for some reason, as a mom with 3 children, I was like, I'm not going to pretend like this is okay, and I'm not traumatized right now. And
Hmm.
the one thing I did feel I could honor was telling them I'm not sweeping this under the rug. I will not be attending Easter and pretending like everything is okay.
Hell yeah. Good for you.
And because of that, I also had to tell my kids in that first year, they had to go through a grieving process. And I did an age appropriate way of saying
Right.
why, I found out grandpa is actually not my dad. And I'm sorry, you guys, he's still your grandpa, but he's not biologically. And yeah, it was lots of conversations and lots of sadness on my end and their end. So I did tell them. I had to kind of force to probably 2 weeks in. I'm so glad I did because now they hear mommy editing NP Stories podcast all the time. they hear they hear shit. They hear
Yeah.
stuff like, whoa, they have I don't shelter them, and I still to this day I bring up occasionally like, I'm sorry, I know you miss members of your family. I'm sorry it had to be this way. And we still talk about it. I allow them to have their feelings about it. And they're okay. They're okay, but we're all in therapy, including my children, and it
Oh,
has been
interesting.
very helpful. It has been very helpful.
Okay.
Yes. How about you? Did you tell your kids? How'd that
Did,
go?
yes. The backstory there is shortly after we had the big revelation slash confrontation, I suppose. Like I was ready to tell him. Like I was like, well, we're just gonna get all this on the table and just kind of clear the air and make sure everybody's aware of everything, no secrets. Um, and my mom was very combative about everything, but especially a not telling my Ray sister, and then also Well, mostly that there was an implication that I shouldn't tell anyone else either. And I'm just like, that's not going to happen. Because I mean, like, I immediately obviously went and told my partner, and she knew because she's been on this journey with me the whole time. But getting the confirmation and then learning all this was a whole thing. But I tied these two together because I was ready to tell them, as soon as they left, the kids, and my partner and I discussed the whole thing, and she's just like, well, hold on, let's pump the brakes a little bit and kind of, what's the Kurosawa Yojimbo? Let's look at this from all the different angles before we make any decisions, and have a clear vantage point of what's happening. Because very astutely on her part, she's like, if we tell the kids, and your race sister does not know, then we are burdening them with the secret as well that they have to keep from their aunt, from their chia. And I'm like, shit, that's fucking right. So yeah, that's bad. So we didn't want to pass on, the generational trauma in that respect. Yeah. At the same time, we did want to disclose and let them know. So we just kind of had to order things. You know what I'm saying? So we had to I had to get them to the point where they could actually do a little bit of legwork and tell my sister, my raised sister, so that she was aware. And that was a whole process, as you can imagine. Took about 3 or 4 months, but it did happen. Good on my dad for stepping up. He did. And then we had a conversation. She called me. We talked through, and she was very cool and empathetic about it, and kind of played referee and stood in the middle and just kind of looked at both sides and just like, well, this is screwed up in all the different ways, and I feel bad for everybody. And I was like, well, that's fine. I can accept that. That's at least, you're taking that kind of a position, whatever. But as soon as that phone call was over, it was dinner time. I'm like, all right, it's green light. now we can tell them. And so that was a long conversation of kind of explaining, because, I don't have to tell you this, Lily, and probably a lot of listeners either, that, the kids are perceptive, especially that preteen range, where my son was at. My daughter was a little younger, but even then they could definitely tell that Popeye was struggling, that there was some serious issues happening, and that I was not my most attentive and best self for years. Yeah. Frankly, and they knew they didn't know the cause, so we had to lay that all out and explain the whole situation, and they took it well, honestly. Like the younger one just kind of like, okay, whatever. So I get more Christmas presents from all these people. I'm like, well, okay, that's a good way to take it. The older one, obviously, processing a little bit more wheels turning. He, we're all polyglots in this family. I speak 4 languages and can work my way through like another 7 or 8 semi-fluently. And he is very much on that track as well. He's German has kind of become his new thing, and just crushing in his German language skills. And he kind of attached himself to that, thinking that he had these dual in German inheritance lines from both families. And now that was cut. You know what I'm saying? It's just on my partner's side. So that hit him a little bit, because he's so focused on it and doing so well. Yeah. But again, we told him, it's like, that doesn't mean you have to stop. This is a passion of yours. You just keep up with it, and you're doing so great in it too. It doesn't have to mean that it's over, and you still have, whatever percentage of German stuff in you that doesn't end. That was a little bit of a conversation too. And then how do we act around them? How do we move forward? It's like, you don't change at all. Like, they're still your grandparents. They're still going to shower you with love. Like, that relationship is the same, but we also need to hold and be aware of this other truth, this other aspect of it.
Oh, I know how your son felt about, like, going from the German on both sides to just the German on one side. It's, yeah, you get, there's kind of like a letdown, like, I was so immersed in this, learning about this culture and this language. And it's like, oh yeah, that's how I felt about my French side. When I found out, it wasn't, no, I get that. Yep. So we're open. Our families know, no secrecy here, no continuing the secret.
Well, and I'll say this too, like, I mean, it was all theoretical and kind of up in the air for a long time. Like we started to meet, the sibling group, we were doing these just vid chats and things over like the deep pandemic for like a year and a half, 2 years, which is fine. I mean, it's a great way to just to talk and relate and build, but it's not the same as hanging in person, you know?
Yep.
And so that is a recent thing that's just kind of started, since I had a big blow up with my mom in March and was just not good. And then again, that sister that's not terribly far away basically just called and just like, let's get together. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's get together. Let's do it for real. And since then, I've seen her 4 times now in person. It's becoming routine. She came up for my daughter's birthday, which is huge, right? I'll never forget that. And so to have their chia now, that's just a chia, that's just an auntie, regularly interact with them and just normalize this whole thing and watch just how wonderfully she interacts with my kids and just showers them with love and attention and everything you would want from, the cool aunt. It's the greatest. It's wonderful.
Oh, I'm so glad you have this relationship like this.
Yeah, yeah. We had a 2-for-1 in that very first time I went down there, and then I had another brother that came up, so I got to meet 2 of them both at once. And
Oh,
I've seen her a number of times from then on. And then over the summer we did a trip to Colorado, and I met another brother out there. So slowly but surely, I'm kind of like checking them off. I got 3 more.
Wouldn't it be crazy if you get a bunch of you with your siblings together?
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean,
That's
we'd
the
love
plan.
to. Yeah, we'd love to. I don't know if you listened to the Half of Us podcast. We were on that. I've been on that with my comrade from the DCC, the communities, donor conceived community. But anyway, they did a thing where they rented a cabin somewhere, and I think like 10 of them rolled in with all their families and kids and everything, and then they just like hung out for like a 3-day weekend or whatever. I'm like, oh, see, that's goals right there. That's what we got to try and do.
Yeah, really. Now, Eric, if people wanted to reach out to you, could they do that?
Sure, yeah. Instagram's probably the best spot. I got some resources up there for DCP and BIPOC DCP. It's at Eric SB Musica.
And I will put that link in the show description for your Instagram handle as well. I appreciate this so much. I had a great time talking with you before we even started pressing the record button today, and I'm glad we connected. I'm lucky you are local to me, so I actually will be able to get to meet you for coffee or something.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Eric, so much for coming on today and sharing all of this with us.
Well, thank you, Lily, for all you do as well. I mean, this podcast and this program, I mean, I know it's meant so much to so many people all across the greater MPE branches of trees and spectrum and all that stuff. And I mean, you're the best. You're awesome. So thank you for what you do.
These stories are here for us to identify with. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, email npestories@gmail.com. You do not have to give any identifying information. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, I'd like to hear from you. Subscribe to this podcast to hear more. Come heal with us.